Now who's the king of the Fighting Dutch?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And who do the sailors fear so much?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And it's
Ya, ya, leave your hammock. Ya, ya, hands on deck. Ya, ya, break your back for Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And who can unfurl the main topsail?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
All by himself in a living gale?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And it's
Ya, ya, leave your hammock. Ya, ya, hands on deck. Ya, ya, break your back for Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And when he had a ship of his own,
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
it was brute force kept him on the throne.
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And it's
Ya, ya, leave your hammock. Ya, ya, hands on deck. Ya, ya, break your back for Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And who stole all the tea from China?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And sold it down in Carolina?
Skipper Jan Riebeck.
And it's
We're outside the Dockyard Church. This is the home for our reunion this afternoon. We have around 250 BBC Radio Kent listeners coming. They've travelled from all over Kent, some from Sussex, a few from as far afield as the West Midlands. They want to be here today because I think they want to rekindle something. They want to find who they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. It was such a massive part of Kent's history, the Dockyards.
Couple running on the stairs here, and on the left we've got a board that we're asking everyone to sign their memories of the document.
We came into work as usual, went into the office, then about lunchtime we came out all lined up, had our photograph taken with the gates closed, saying this was the last day, the last time, a big banner in front of us, about 22 of us were left then, and we walked back in and get our cars and then went on our merry ways.
Thank you. Good evening. It's really lovely to see so many people here at the Dockyard reunion organised by BBC Radio Kent. I'm Julia George and I present the morning show. We gathered in a beautiful historic building. I'm sure most of you probably know the Dockyard Church was built at the turn of the 19th century. And we've been listening to history as well. The programme that was playing as you arrived was BBC Radio Kent's last farewell to the Dockyard. We first broadcast it back in 1983. Today you might remember your first day in the Apprentice Training Centre. You might remember the first time you were late and your instructor tore strips off you. You'll remember your first pay packet. Somebody just told me how much they earned and it took them 2 weeks to spend their first pay packet. Some of you will remember when you had saved enough for your first motorbike. I think BSAs were quite popular at that point, weren't they? I hope you're going to share some of these memories, as Gordon said. Share them with each other. Also, please share them with us a little bit later on this evening. 1984 must have been a bitter blow to many of you here today. But while you're here, it's a chance to remember how it felt to be young when anything is possible. I hope you enjoy being those young men and women again today, even if it's just for an hour or so this evening. In a moment, we're going to be hearing the stories of former shipwright John de Rose. But first, some more entertainment for you. I would love you to welcome, and I hope you enjoy, Kent Soul Band, Aunt Nelly.
O'clock on a Monday morning, the rain is tumbling down. Take a look in the bathroom mirror, looks like I've been drowned.
I thought I had a job for life, and that's in everything in my experience, and I hope yours. I needed to carry on and see where life was going to take me. On reflection, I consider myself fortunate for the further education I received at the Dockyard College in Collingwood, and it proved very useful in looking for another job. I realised that many workers moved away and supported the other dockyards or other ministries, and others stayed here and generated a new industry of the self-employed, or took the craft learnt here to other places where others benefited from what you'd learnt. The Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust have done a great job in capturing some of the past, and although it isn't cheap to come in, and I'm sure you'll find that out if you haven't already, I do recommend it to those that haven't done it yet. The trouble is that we're not getting any younger, and every month I hear of someone who's passed on. And eventually, of course, we'll all go the same way. But until then, let's remember what we did and where we did it. And I'd like to thank Radio Kent for setting this up and wish them well for their day in the dockyard tomorrow, which unfortunately I cannot attend. But I hope many of you do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I started here in 51. My apprenticeship, I met 14 or 15 lads, still see some of them, the ones that are still alive, and that starts you as camaraderie really, as a team when you start as apprentices. That's what I feel anyway, and that camaraderie lasts, and that's what keeps the dockyard as it is. The people that worked here have got affection and respect. Because I don't think there was a better apprenticeship training-wise anywhere, and sadly, not now.
I did an apprenticeship in electrical engineering. So during that time I was here, I had to attain a qualification by going to college. So I had the theory side of life, and the dockyard provided the practical side of life. And after a bit of basic tool skill that we were taught at a building outside of the dockyard called Collingwood, where we learned hand skills and using lathes, we then came to the dockyard and was assigned to a skipper on board a ship, and that guy was your a bit like your mentor. He would guide you and get you doing things. But as I recall, they had us doing jobs that were real. It wasn't a test job, it wasn't a separate job, it was part of the ship's refit, and you were sat there, and when you'd done whatever you were doing, it would be tested by the dockyard test organisation to make sure it was right, and off it went to sea afterwards. So it was good, and they did give you a lot of confidence. Obviously they taught you electrically what you had to know and what you had to do and how to do it, but I think we were discussing coming here, and they gave us also a lot of confidence dealing with people, and that the world was different then and this was a different place.
Let's organise it. Mickey, you have a brilliant time. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Julia.
That was Alex.
We'd been told there was going to be an announcement in Parliament on that particular day, and so all my lads all gathered around the radio that we had in the office, and then it came out that it was Chatham Dockyard that was going to close, and momentarily everything went hushed. There were no comments, nothing. And then in a few short minutes, the black humour started. Oh, I'll see you in the dole queue. Yeah, but you'll be 3 places behind me. I'll be before you. And all this sort of thing, making light of it. But then, as the days went on, it was getting more and more serious, and people were beginning to realise how it was going to affect their lives. And there was so much uncertainty. Were they going to be allowed to retire early and pack up? Were they going to be transferred to another dockyard? Would they be able to get a job outside the dockyard? So there was a lot of uncertainty, because at the time there were lots of other engineering companies in and around the Medway towns that were also closing down, and so the opportunity for work was getting worse and worse. So yeah, terrible uncertainty.
Flowers on the corner. The iron ship, was it long way? The iron ship was it, wasn't it?
I didn't really know what I wanted to do. The careers officer kindly pushed a load of us in this direction, and I don't regret a second of it. I grew up here. I turned from a naive schoolboy to someone who felt capable of dealing with life and the world. They fed industry. These were very recognised, recommended apprenticeships. They had standing. I think a lot of vocational people are missing out by not having hands-on apprenticeships. And the dockyard was very good at taking those people and giving them skills, life skills, a future.
Like, what sort of things did you do at the dockyard? Like, what jobs and stuff?
Well, we did a bit of everything. It was very varied.
I think the fact they've got themselves out of school to come and meet people, to talk, I hope will have an impact on them. I hope it will give them a bit more confidence to go and talk to people, to learn, and all knowledge is good. So even my witterings, my reminiscing about the place, it kind of means something to me. It may not to them, but they're getting experience of talking to people, practicing their skills, making notes. I think it's great. I think it's really, really good.
Trying to pick up a radio signal or something.